Okay, good afternoon. So we're going to start the sutta class. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sanghang namasami. So today we are doing these suttas, Majhima Nikaya, suttas number 2, Sabbasava Suttas. This is in English is all the Taints. So I will begin with just what is meant by all the Taints. So this all the Taints is a 3 Taints that is referred to. There is the basic, the 3 basic defilements as a base of samsara. That is a base that keeps us in the cycle of existence. So there is these 3 asava. Asava is karma asava, the taint of sensual desires. So here they translate as taint. Actually is in the Pali, some they translate as influx, or in these agamas, they say they call it outflowing. So this asavas is this is 3 asavas. There is a karma asavas, there is a outflow. I prefer the words of outflow, because this is how our mind go out, isn't it? With all the sensual pleasure, we always, when we sit here, our mind is going, isn't it? That is outflowing, that keep us, this is the one is keep us in samsara. So there's the 3 asavas. The first one is karma asavas, that is the outflowing of sensual desires. This is the deep underlying tendency of sensual desires as the base of mind, flowing into the mind when stimulated by the impact of sensory impression. When we have something, there's an impact. Then they flow into, stimulated by the impact of the sensory impression, especially like pleasant, enjoyable sensory impression. So this karma asava gets provoked and flowing into the stream of consciousness. Then this is how then flow out through the 5 senses. Then we looking out for this sensory pressure. We look for this object. That's why I prefer, because some translation they use it as influx, but actually your mind actually is going out because of that impact, and then our mind go out. So in the agamas, it's a Chinese agama, actually they translate as outflowing. So because if most of you, if you meditate, you know how the mind go out. So I think, to me, I prefer to use outflow. So this is the outflowing. And the second one is the bhava asava, that is the outflowing of existence. This is the deep fundamental craving for continuing existence, deep urge to go on in existing, and force that keep us in the cycle of existence. We want to live, we want to be exist. That is one of the outflowing. We go out. We go out there, we tell people that we are exist, isn't it? We want to do all this, want to do all that, we control this, control that. There is a sense of self. I'm here, I'm exist, And the third one is the avijja asava, that is the ignorant, that is actually is rather than delusion, that we say ignorant, because delusion is that we experience that. The experience is real, but only we misinterpret So that's why it's delusion. We are deluded, isn't it? Because we do have that experience, but we misinterpret our experience. So that's why sometimes people say, you said non-self, is that not real? I feel that, it's real. The feeling is real. The experience is real. But because of lack of understanding, so we don't have the clarity of mind. That's why we not knowing. So that's why we misinterpret it. So these three are more fundamental than the three unwholesome roots. So this actually these three asavas is the cause, is the source of keeping us in the samsara, in this cycle of existence. It's not three unwholesome roots, because the three unwholesome roots is because of it give rise to greed, hatred, and delusion, because of our craving to our karma asavas, our bhava asavas, and the avijja asavas, and this is that is the source, and they give rise to these three unwholesome roots. So this is the three basic defilements. So and this is so the asava is the cause, and unwholesome action, that is the three roots of an unwholesome action, that is the effect. So at least now you know what we are talking about. So this sutta is talk about these three basic defilements that keep us in samsara, this outflowing of the mind. So now I'm going to start to read these suttas. Thus have I heard, on one occasion, the Blessed One was living at Savatthi in Jeta Grove, Anapitika's park. There he addressed the bhikkhus thus: "Bhikkhus, Venerable Sir," they replied. The Blessed One said this: "Bhikkhus, I shall teach you a discourse on the restraint of all taints. Listen and attend closely to what I shall say." "Yes, Venerable Sir," the bhikkhus replied. The Blessed One said this. Okay. "Bhikkhus, I said that the destruction of the taints, that is the outflowing, is for one who knows and see, not for one who does not know and see. Who knows and see what? Wise attention and unwise attention. When one attends unwisely, unarisen taints arise, and arisen taints increase. When one attends wisely, unarisen taints do not arise, and arisen taints are abandoned." So actually, this is saying that those who he said those who knows and see, actually is referred to Sotapanna, to straight meaners that see the Dhamma, that knows and see the Dhamma, and this is he talk about this wise attention. Is not just reflection. It's more like you looking into the origin, the source of this problem, these defilements. So it's not just like us, it's just reflecting. It's not that kind. That the deep, looking into investigating, looking into the origin, the source of these defilements. So actually, and then this is basically is referred to this the four right effort. This is the refer to the four right efforts. There is like when to there is there's not one who does not know and see. Wise attention and unwise attention. When one attends unwisely, unarisen taints arise, so and increase. So if you pay attention, we unwise attention, then those defilements arises, and then we will have to abandon it, and we can, and then it will increase, and then the other one that we have to when not to allow those unarise. There is a four right effort, isn't it? Unarise, unwholesome, these defilements to comes out, And then if already arise, you have to abandon it. So the third right effort is to we consciously, to replace that with wholesome thoughts. And then with the wholesome thoughts, then we maintain that, we keep that. Then this is the 4 right efforts. So, and this is the 4th paragraph. Because, and please, if you can stop me if you want to ask me. Because there are taints that should be abandoned by seeing. The taints that should be abandoned by restraining. There are taints that should be abandoned by using. There are taints that should be abandoned by enduring. There are taints that should be abandoned by avoiding. There are taints that should be abandoned by removing. There are taints that should be abandoned by developing. So this is said that this is the taints that should be abandoned by seeing. So this is, as I already the first one is seeing. Seeing is actually refer to that understanding. It means the insight by seeing the Dhamma. So that by seeing non-self. And then the second one, then after that you have this by seeing, and then by avoiding, by restraining, by avoiding. So now we start with the taints to be abandoned by seeing. What taints, bhikkhus, should be abandoned by seeing? Here, bhikkhus, an untaught ordinary person who has no regard for noble ones and is unskilled, undisciplined in the Dhamma, who has no regard for true man and is unskilled and undisciplined in the Dhamma, does not understand what things are fit for attention and what things are unfit for attention. Actually, this is referred to those who's not the stream winners. That is the since that is he attend to those things unfit for attention, and he does not attend to those things fit for attention. So this is these three basic defilements that keep us in the samsara. I remember some times ago someone asked me, because this is the deep underlying tendency, we can't see that. But usually we can see the more prominent one. For example, someone said that just recently someone asked me that I feel agitated and irritated. Like I feel that, like I just feel angry, out of the blue. You don't feel good. You just that moment. He said, I don't know why I feel that. So I said, you don't go into try to analyze and why you feel that. So the moment that anger, that irritation arises, you not to allow that to go further, because those underlying tendency is not very, very subtle. But because we have different level of mindfulness, your mindfulness is not there. You only aware only that part, isn't it? You're only aware that, I feel a bit angry, I feel agitated, irritated. So if you keep start to think maybe this, maybe that, you go into all speculation, and actually you are reinforced that. So you have to stop that. Because when these feelings come out, we follow by thoughts, isn't it? We think maybe this, maybe that, and we try to analyze. But actually we are speculating, maybe this and that. But because we really can't see, because that is very refined. But we only feel the agitation, we can only feel the anger, but we can't see what gives rise to that. So that's why it's important that we just don't try to analyze, don't try to see, because you can't, because it's so refined and it's underlying tendency. So not to allow the mind to go, further to reinforce that tendency. So now I come to this, the 6th paragraph. They said, what are the things unfit for attention that he attends to? There are things such that when attends to, the unarisen taints of sensual desire arises in him, and the arisen taints of sensual desire increase, and the unarisen taints of being arises in him, and the arisen taints of being increased, the unarisen taints of delusions arises in him. And this is how once this is the second noble truth, that is the cause of our existence is because of the three desires, the desires, the sensual desires. So actually it is just the mind to go out to play with the five senses. That's why we are in this karma. This is the karma loka. And also because our sensual desires increase, then we go out to being, and just want to be exist, and that is the three desires. There's desires to be and desires not to be. That is that one. First is essential desires to be, desires not to be. Desires not to be is still desire, still wanting. Craving not to be is still craving. So, and then the reason taints of ignorance increase. That is the delusion, going to the delusion. So this is how sensual desire, we go desires and then give rise to that desires to exist, and these desires to exist will increase, and you give rise to our ignorance, our delusion become, we reinforce that, and it's just like it become, we reinforce that, it's become more and more, it becomes stronger and stronger. So our delusion become really strong, and then this is how when this is a trigger. So that's why this is the second noble truth. That is the desires, the craving, the three craving. That is the cause. That is the source of keeping us in this cycle of existence. Is there any questions on that? No. So, and what are the things fit for attention that he does not attend to? And there are things such that when he attend to them, the unarisen taints of sensual desire does not arise in him, and the arisen taint of sensual desire is abandoned. The unarisen taints of being does not arise in him, and the arisen taints of being is abandoned. The unarisen taints of ignorance does not arise in him, and the arisen taints of delusion is abandoned. These are things fit for attention that he does not attend to. By attending to things unfit for attention, and by not attending to things that fit for attention, both arisen things arise in him and arisen things increase. That means that things that is unfit, that when we pay attention to that, that give rise to these sensual desires and these defilements. And what are the things that we, when we reflect on that, and that will not give rise to that sensual desire, to give rise to these defilements. So then then in the seven paragraphs they said, this is how he attains unwisely. When we attain unwisely, then this comes up. Was I in the past? Was I not in the past? What was I in the past? And how was I in the past? Have been what? What did I become in the past? Shall I be in the future? Shall I not be in the future? What shall I be in the future? How shall I be in the future? Having been what? What shall I become in the future? Or else he is inwardly perplexed about the present test. Am I? Am I not? What am I? How am I? Where has this being comes from? Where will I go? And this is how that give rise to that you carry that carry an assumption of a self. You know, when you this, because of you have this existence, this of this outflowing, you know, of desires to exist, the existence, and that when we are unwisely pay attention to that, then this is how we start to speculate. Is it that, you know, is it that is a sound, and is it whether that is in the what was I in my previous life? If that is a self, you know, what is my previous life? And I know when I was young, I used to think that sometimes I was so scary. I feel so scary. I feel like, oh, after I die, where am I going? You know, oh, is it only this life? If there is next life, so where are we going to reborn? You know, all sorts of things. You know, and then you started really scary, isn't it? This is how I think we all have that, isn't it? We all will keep thinking, you know, is it that is past life? If there is past life, you know, so what I was, you know, who am I, and then where I will be reborn, you know, and especially sometimes you hear about all this, you're reborn in these health realms and all this, you know, and then sometimes I remember when I was young, when this comes out, I feel so scared. I said, no, I'm not going to think about it, and now I'm still young. So this is how, you know, I'm still young to die. So never mind, I just put it aside. I told myself, I worry about it later. So I put it aside, like, because you really don't know, and especially things that you don't know, the fear arises because you really don't know where you're heading to. If that is a self, if after that, you know, and where am I going? And it's so scary, you know. So I was thinking, oh, then, so each time I don't touch that. When this comes, I push it aside, so I'm not thinking about this, you know. Now I just worry about it. Then I say, when I grow older, only I start to worry about it. But that time I was really, really deluded. I think that, you know, only when I grow old, only I die. It's not, isn't it? Even you're young also, you will die anytime, you know. So, yeah. So then when you attend unwisely, yes?
If the onus is pointing to being aware in the present,
Yeah.
you get the power over the future. Yeah. And so we just go to be present all the time, so we know what's happening.
Yeah.
Rather than
Yeah.
speculating about the past or where we come from.
And because this is all just speculation. And just an assumption, we carry the assumption, this is so, whether it is, whether this and whether that. But we really don't know. and then because we keep doing that, actually we reinforce our delusion. You know, we keep doing that, you know. So is it anything? Okay. So when he attends unwisely in this way, one of the 6 views arises in him. So the first one, the views, this is how when to go into when you unwisely, you attend unwisely, these essential desires arises and they increase, and then they give rise to this being, you know, the desires of being existent, and that give rise to the sense of self. It's me and mine. So the views of self exist for me arise in him as true and established. This is that the belief that this is a permanent self. The self continues permanently into the future. So then, or the view no self exists for me arise in him as true and established. So this is not the non-self. This is annihilation. That is that, okay, this views that the self exists only in this present life. This is the material self that, you know, okay, when we die, I say no more future life, nothing. So all views that I perceive self with self arises in him as true and established. That is, I can see the self with self. That is that you can see And yeah, there is me, I'm here, I can see. That is the self, you know. That is self, that is the self. I'm the self in me, I'm the self. So, and then the other one is I perceive not self with a self. That is that that is a self, but you can't really see the self, but you know that is a self. You know, you get that? Okay. So the first one, I repeat, the first one is a eternalist view. That is the self continues to permanently into the future. The second one is annihilation view. That is the self exists only in the present life. So the third one is there is a self, that we can see the self with a self. And the fourth one, that is a self, but you can't really see the self, but you know that is a self. You know there is a self there. And then the fifth one, they say perceive self with no self. Actually, this one should be perceived non-self with self. That is this is really seeing the non-self. This is the Buddha one, the right one. That is the fifth one. Okay. So the sixth one is the sixth one is that this is the self of mind that speak and feels and experience here and there, results of good and bad action. And the self is mind. This is like you take all these, the five khandhas as me and mine. This is myself. Like our feelings is myself, you see. That is me, you see. So actually when the Buddhists talk about non-self, it's not that there's nothing. It's not that nothing. It's just that if you think that this is a self, the Buddha said we can say that, you know, we can control. We can say, oh, I may my body do not grow old. May I not sick. May I not die. So that is self. So it's not that nothing there, because you say, you know, I'm there. I can feel this person is here. So what's the Buddha's define non-self, that is no something that is like unchanged, permanently, this, you know, is there, and then you can control, then they call ourselves. So because we cannot control, even our these five aggregate, the five khandhas, the five aggregate is in it. The body we cannot control, isn't it? So the feelings, perception, you know, then we take this perception as me and mine, these five aggregates. I can see this person, my feeling, my experience, and all this we take this to be me and mine. This is a self, you know. So it is the self of mind that speak and feels and experience here and there the results of good and bad action. But the self of mind is permanent. So they believe that this is a permanent. So and then to be permanent, everlasting, eternal, no subject to change, and it will endures as long as eternity. The speculation then gives rise to these speculative views, because it's called the taker of views, the wilderness of views, the concoctions of views, the vacillations of views, the factors of views, the factors by the factors of views, the untaught ordinary person not free from birth, aging, death, from sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair. He's not free from suffering, I say. So this is what, now he's talking about untaught ordinary person, is that the person that is like, they have no knowledge of the Dharma. There's there is like no knowledge of the Dharma, and you don't see the Dharma. Actually, when the Buddha saw about someone who see the Dharma, someone have that insight, actually he's always referring to stream Venus. So whoever that we haven't attained that, so we all are Puthujjana. Okay, Puthujjana is that we are non-Arya. So as long as we don't reach that, we are all ordinary, untaught. Ordinary person. So we are still not free from birth, aging, and death. and from sorrow, lamentation, pain, grief, and despair, and is not free from suffering, I said. So then the Buddha continued to say, Bhikkhus, a well-taught noble disciple who has regards for noble ones is skilled and disciplined in the Dharma, who has regard for true men and is skilled and disciplined in the Dhamma, understand that things are fit for attention and what things are unfit for attention. Since that is so, he does not attend to those things unfit for attention, and he attends to those things fit for attention. So this is referring to the stream winners, because they are skilled in they're skilled in the Dhamma, and they're disciplined and skilled in the Dhamma, and who is have the understanding, and they have the insight, What are the things unfit for attention that he does not attend to? So this is the repeat again, like he knows that he will not go into these sensual desires and things like that. So it's just like, how, because the sutta sometimes I just repeat again. So now we go to what are the areas, what are the stream winners. Those are at least, attain first stage of enlightenment. There is a stream winners. He will attains wisely. This is suffering. That is the Four Noble Truth, So he's for a stream winners, they see the non-self. So they have the insight, and then they have abandoned the lower factors. That is the personality will, doubt, and not attached to rights and ritual. This is said that rules and observance. That means that you don't attach that, I'm doing this with the understanding that, I will free, get enlightened, I'm doing this certain practices, and you don't attach to that, because that is wrong view. So they don't have that wrong views anymore to believe that, that you do that, and then, and it's just recently, I think just a couple of days ago, that lady, she said, I'm born in monkey. I think monkey is not such a good year for her. And she said, I bought a pendant and give it to me. Can you bless this? So that I was thinking, because I discourage all this, but sometimes it's difficult. That person just came, and I can't give her a long discourse to tell her what, isn't it? It's so difficult to really explain to her, and this is not really, even I chant, I bless, it's not going to really protect you, but I just, okay, you want me to chant, I just chant. But, sometimes people believe that, I do certain things and this help me, that, like for example, like in Malaysia, some Malays, I think here those Aboriginal people also, they believe cleansing, So in Malaysia, we use, in Malaysia, they put those smoke, they go to the whole house, so they clean the house. So there is the cleansing. I think original people, they also have that the cleansing, So actually, it's so easy that can cleanse, Then we all don't have to practice, So and I know even sometimes in Malaysia, some temples, they will say that, you do certain things that you burn all your bad karma away. And then that you pay money, and then they say, I like the lights for you, and then they do some ceremony, and the ceremony is called like burning your karma. They burn your bad karma away, so you don't have the experience. Your bad karma will not ripen, it's all burns away, And this is wrong views, to believe that you do this, So stream winners, they are free of that. They're not. They do not, attached to all this. So they are already abandoned these three lower factors. So this is 11. They say, you say, attains wisely. This is suffering. He attains wisely. This is the origin of suffering. There is a cause of the suffering. Attains wisely. This is the cessation of suffering. That is a third noble truth. That is attains wisely. This is the way leading to cessation of suffering. That is to the way to leading cessation of the suffering, that is to practice the Noble Eightfold Path. When he attains wisely in this way, 3 factors are abandoned in him. That is the personality will, I mentioned just now, doubt. So that's like extreme winners that have complete, unshakable faith in the Dharma. They have no doubt. And adherence to rules and observances, like just I mentioned, and people believe that, doing all these things were free from, yes? Actually, they don't really mention about on the path how much, Usually they just mention extreme winners, that you. But if you're in the path, you're bound to. You're on the right path, so you're leading there. But actually, I don't know, because in the suttas they don't really mention. They always said that, the extreme winners, they abandon these 3 lower factors. So yes, it's just like sometimes we know that we practice in the right way, then actually we know we know that unwholesome state of mind decrease, wholesome state of mind increase, then we know that we are leading the right path. Yes.
Are you referring to stream intras or
Yes.
intras?
Yeah. So the first abandoning of this outflowing of all these asavas, that is these defilements, the source of the defilements, the 3 basic basic defilements that keep us in the samsara. The first one has to be someone see already, they have their insight. It has to be the first. There is a Sotapanna, there is a stream winners. So because that what the Buddha taught about the seeing is not just the seeing, that is the insight, the understanding. They be able to see the 3 characteristics that is non-self. So that's why they don't have personality. They still have self, but they don't have this personality will. So they have the complete unshakable confidence in the Dhamma. They have no doubt. And then the third one is they are not attached to all these rites and ritual anymore. So this is the first the stream winners. So this abandoned by seeing. That is the insight with the wisdom. That. So that's why here when they talk about a wise attention, and it's not something that you just pay attention, not just the bare awareness. No, it's that kind of awareness with the clear comprehension, with wisdom. Like for example, we may aware of things, but we don't really know. We don't have the wisdom to know. Okay, if I'm going with go along with this, it's going to lead me to suffering, it's going to, you don't see that, you just bear aware, but you don't have the wisdom, you see. Like for example, the kind of like mindfulness, like a lot of athletes, like sportmen and women, that they have that. You have to be really mindful, you have to be really focused, isn't it? But it's not the kind of mindfulness, not the kind of, this kind of mindfulness, you have the clarity. You're seeing, what leading you to, and what is, the cause will cause you, leads you to suffering. You can, that with the wisdom, with the clarity, your mind with the clarity, with wisdom, not just bare awareness, okay? So then we go to the taints to be abandoned by restraining. So how where we can be able to restrain. That's why sometimes we cannot get rid of things. We cannot get rid of defilements by trying to use willpower. You can't. In fact, we reinforce that. So that's why we need to restrain. Sometimes we need to restrain so that it don't go further. Like just now I mentioned, when your anger arises, so we have to restrain ourselves, isn't it? Not to go further. So, but we cannot get rid of our defilements. by using willpower we can. But it's just like when we restrain it, it's just like we starve it. Not feeding it, you starve it. So then when you don't starve, eventually, when you have nothing to eat, so eventually dead. It's the same thing, you just not to feed it. So it's because sometimes because this is translation when they use abandon, and this is how our perception, like when abandon, we talk about abandon, we were thinking of, we think like, oh, we get rid of something. Actually, it's not getting rid of something. We can't get rid of things, and it's just like we not to reinforce that. So this is to be abandoned by restraining. So you have to restrain. So what taints bhikkhus should be abandoned by restraining? Here a bhikkhu, reflecting wisely, abides with eye faculties restrained. What taints, vexation, and fever might arise in ones, that is the evil desires, in ones who abides in the eyes faculties unrestrained. There are no taints. So it's just like sometimes when we see things, that like if we don't restrain, like for example, it's the same like for monks or nuns, like or young. Sometimes also you can't say young monks or young nuns, as long as you're not free from, you're not enlightened, you still have that, isn't it? It's just given the condition, when the condition is there, this underlying, sensual desire, it will comes out, So there's like we can't say young or old. As long as you still have that, underlying tendency, you still have. That's why we have to restrain ourselves, We, for example, we see beautiful things, we do not get, if we don't restrain ourselves, then we really, it's very nice, I want this. And this is how you give rise to that, isn't it? Oh, I want this is really good. And then this is how, the desires, the evils, the desires arises, isn't it? So, and then we want this is really good, and then we can't get it, we got very angry and upset, isn't it? And with the eyes, restrained, with the eye faculty unrestrained. So they said when with the eyes, so then they said, there are no taints, vexation, or fever in ones who abides with the eyes faculties restrained. So we restrain ourselves. So to restrain our defilements, so that we don't go further, not to reinforce that underlying tendency. So reflecting wisely, he abides with the ear faculties restrained, like we hear something, For example, like we hear something like someone being nasty, said, terrible thing to us, So if we really go, if we react to that, we go on and on thinking about that, So this is not, it's the same because it's unpleasant, isn't it? Then give rise to anger, isn't it? Someone said nasty things to us, or even sometimes we see something that is not nice. For example, we see someone doing things that horrible, with the eyes, and you give rise to that self-righteousness, this person wrong, not right, and then we go back, we go on and on, we got upset, Then we have to restrain ourselves. Actually, none of our business, isn't it? So because it's someone, because we don't have to responsible for that person, behavior or conduct. Is someone doing something that is, nasty. So that's why this is how if we don't restrain ourselves, sometimes we react to that, what we see, give, so that the trigger, and then we give rise to this greed or anger. So then, like what we hear, some things that we don't like it, and we got upset, we got angry, and so on. And then with the nose, faculties restrained, and with the tongue, and the five senses. So for the five senses, we abandon this outflowing, these asavas, you know, to really go out to play with it, you know, that by restraining our senses. But it's not like the Buddha's do self-modification is not that. And eat, you know, try to eat a very little. It's not that kind that, you know, it's not that, I shouldn't enjoy. When we got sometimes people said to me that as if they feel so guilty if they have food, very nice food. I said, it's okay, but you're not thinking about, you know, I'm going to get this, you know, I want more, become greedy, you know, but you just, you know, it's the food, it's just nice, you just enjoy, you know. So, and then with the body faculties restrained, with the mind faculties restrained, and then this is the mind faculties, that means that it's sometimes the mind object sometimes arises, that sometimes it pops up, you know, some object in our minds, maybe sometimes it's pleasant, sometimes it's unpleasant. So sometimes we attend to that, you know, then we get sucked in, and then our mind go on and on thinking about it. And then we reinforce that tendency. So, while taints, vexation, and fever might arise in one who abides with the faculties unrestrained, so there are no taints, vexation, or fever in one who abides with the faculties restrained. So when you restrain, so these evil and desires will not arise. So these are called taints, these are called the outflow of the mind that should be abandoned by restraining. So now come to using. Taints to be abandoned by using. So what taints, bhikkhus, should be abandoned by using? Here a bhikkhu reflecting from cold, for protection from contact with gadflies, mosquitoes, wind, sun, and creeping things, and only for the purpose of concealing the private parts. So then we use that, you know, it's just to keep, you know, to cover our body, to protect our body. I remember someone told me that I don't know, I don't know which temple, those the abbot, the monks, they have these silk robes. Make of silk, you know, so that is a bit luxurious, you know. We just, you know, it's okay, just it's good enough, it's just for that purpose. So it's not for to look good and, you know, to be fashionable. So sometimes this is again, that is the sense of self, isn't it? Me, isn't it? Me is a fashionable person. Me is very nice. I dress very nice. All my dress, you know, all this again is come from the sense of self again, isn't it? I remember when I was a lay person, my goodness, every morning you have to think of what you're going to dress, you know. And then I remember when I go for a dinner or something, you know, and then you have to look for an outfit, you know, and then you make sure that you don't repeat, and then you make sure that the person going the same dinner, that they don't see you always wearing the same one. And actually when you look back, actually lots of suffering. It's truly. But that time when you are in it, you don't see that it's suffering until you come out. And I look back, wow, my goodness, so much suffering, you know. Have to think every morning what to wear, you know. Make sure that each month I have to make sure I have a new outfit, you know, so that people don't see me wearing the same thing, you know. What the color I match, you know. And sometimes so painful wearing those high heels, you know. So actually, the moment I let go, the moment I don't do that, I feel such a relief. But that time you don't see, you know. You really don't see that. Then when I look, I'm going to attend a dinner, you know. Almost few hours ahead, I have to prepare, you know. Afternoon, go to a hair salon to do my hair. You know, sometimes hair salon takes you 2 hours, you know, 3 hours, and come back, make up some more for 1 or 2 hours, you know, and then almost half a day to prepare, and then you go to dinner, you go to party, you think that you are there the center of attention. I think people don't even notice you. You know, this is how you keep. This is again come from the sense of self. You know, me. You know, you know, I'm this, I'm that. You know, I looks beautiful. I'm nice. You know. So reflecting wisely, I use alms food neither for amusement nor for intoxication nor for the sake of physical beauty and attractiveness, but only for the endurance and continuance of this body, for ending discomfort, and for assisting the holy life. Considering, thus, I shall terminate old feelings without arousing new feelings, and I shall be healthy and blameless, and shall live in comfort. So we just we just reflect that, you know. So we how we use, you know, that, you know, we know that, oh, I'm eating this only for, it's like a medicine to keep my body going, you know, but not to create like so greedy, you know. And then I know some people have the into so much of like eating, you know. Some people travel so long, so far, you know, like in Malaysia, some people from KL, they take a train, you know, from KL about 2 hours, you know, go to Ipoh to eat certain famous food. They're really into that taste, you know, the food, you know. And then this is also craving, you know, there is desires trigger off, yeah. Then you know, you always want nice food or the taste. And yeah, they do that, you know. They go morning, they take a train, and then they go down, because in Ipoh is very famous with the rice noodles with those chicken and bean sprouts. And people from KL all the way take a train, you know, that. So reflecting wisely, he uses the resting place only for protection from cold, for protection from heat, for protection from contact with gas, flies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and creeping things, and only for the purpose of warding off perils of climates and for enjoying retreats. So we know that, you know, we have a shelter. This is for us to live in seclusion. You know, the most important things, you know. Sometimes like, even we have a big house, and actually we how much space we need, isn't it? Even we have 5 big, you know, huge, you know, size or king size bed, only that part. So we don't need a lot, you know. And again, this is how that, because all this like the if we don't use this thing, reflecting this wisely and remind ourselves, because part of this mindfulness is also to remember. So that's why when we use anything, we use what we want, and we use not what we want, what we need, and not what we want, you know. So we can have lots of things. I've seen people have lots of things that they don't even need it, and they keep buying, because they give them one of a way to distract themselves, a way to running away from things. They keep shopping and buying, you know, because that is how they're running away from looking into the emotion, you know. This is, like I said, sometimes people shopping, they don't necessarily need those things. It's just that as a way and an escape route, you know, running away from looking into one's, you know, facing and into one emotion, you know, the own one's emotion, especially with this negative emotion when this arises, you know, and actually it's because it's unpleasant and people running away, so people use it as a way to distract themselves, you know. So doing all these things. Then actually when we do that, you know, because it's unskillful, unwise, actually the fact we reinforce our defilements, it's become even stronger. So then reflecting wisely, he uses medicinal requisites only for protection from a reason afflicting feelings and for the benefit of good health. Yes, and sometimes nowadays, I saw an article, these women into buying all these health food, and she spent thousands of dollars, very expensive, like 20, 30,000 she bought, and she still got a lot, and she still keep buying. And her house stores so much, a lot, all boxes of, all those, health, all those supplement, and she got a lot. This is how, because you're just so attached to the body, you're so afraid, you think that, you eat all these things, you're not going to get sick. You be healthy, you can live forever. I mean, so while taints, vexation, and fever might arise in one who does not use the requisite thus, there are no taints, vexation, or fever in one who uses them thus. This is called the taints that should be abandoned by using. So when whatever we use, if we don't use it wisely, we don't reflect, we don't remind ourselves that it is good enough, this is only for that. So sometimes this is how we suck into that, isn't it? Into buying all sorts of things. Then we reinforce our defilements, our greed, hatred, and delusion. Because when we get sucked in, when we can't get what we want, we got angry, isn't it? Got upset. So now this come to taints to be abandoned by enduring. What taints, because should be abandoned by enduring? The base, cold and heat, hunger and thirst, and contact with gas, flies, mosquitoes, wind, the sun, and creeping things. He endures ill-spoken. You see, here is endures ill-spoken. You see, someone being said nasty things to you, we have to endure. Because it's no point for us to, get angry, or we react, or we say something nasty to that person. Sometimes, sometimes you cannot, sometimes, you cannot control what other people said. There's like this, you have to endure. So unwelcome words, and recent bodily feelings that are painful, racking, sharp, teasing, disagreeable, distressing, menacing to life, while taints, vexation, and fear might arise in one who does not endure such things. Like sometimes we don't feel well, we are sick. Of course, we see doctor. We try to take medicine, but sometimes after taking medicine, it's still pain, isn't it? Then we just have to endure, because sometimes if we don't endure that, because this endure is not. This kind of endurance is not that kind of using willpower to endure. You understand? Because with the wisdom, you understand that this is part of being alive, being part of having this body. What do you expect? It's not like the willpower, I remember in one of Ajahn Chah books, he mentioned about you practice patient endurance is not by purposely you go and find yourself put yourself in a difficult situation, or you go and sit next to the fire or the stove there, and then you say, I bear with the heat. It's not. This is how you endure, but you understand that this endurance actually is based on that understanding with wisdom, to know that this is just part of life. This is part of being in this samsara, having this body. When you have body, what do you expect? No matter how hard you try to look after your body, sometimes you still have body discomfort. So, but sometimes if we are not skillful, sometimes we get into upset. I feel like that. Why I feel uncomfortable? Why only me? And then the mind go on, and then this is how we give rise to lots of mental suffering. We increase that. We ourselves, we create more mental suffering. So that's why this endurance is not like using willpower, I try to stand, I'm strong, I'm good. And then this is with ego. This is with ego. I'm strong enough, I'm able to endure, So on this, because you are come with the ego. Yeah, I'm a strong man, I'm strong woman, I can endure this, and with willpower, and and this is not what is really the Buddha's referring to. Actually, that with that so while taints, vexation, and fever might arise in one who does not endure such things, there are no taints, vexation, or fever in one who endures them. So these are called the taints that should be abandoned by endurance. So now we come to taints to be abandoned by avoiding. You see, sometimes we can avoid, So what taints because should be abandoned by avoiding? Here, a bhikkhu reflecting wisely. We are not living in the jungle, but I think we just, like for example, we know someone like getting very angry and upset, then it's no point that we go go there and try to tell the person, oh, you shouldn't do that, isn't it? You walk away, we avoid, Sometimes we know that, we're going to get us into troubles, we don't go there, we avoid, we walk away, isn't it? And then we know that sometimes that person got very angry and upset with us. So that's no point that you try to talk to that person, they won't listen. Then the best thing is to walk away, isn't it? Because whatever you said, they won't listen, so you walk away. But of course, Buddha's time, those the monks stay in forest, so that they have to avoid all this like wild elephant, wild horse, wild bull, wild dogs, snakes, snum, bramper, patch, chasm, cliff, cesspit, a sewer. Reflecting wisely, he avoids sitting on unsuitable seats, wandering to unsuitable resorts, and associate with bad friends. You see, now you said like we avoid to associate with someone with bad friends. Someone they are not wise. So like some people said to me that sometimes it's difficult. How come we practice loving kindness and compassion, and how come we cannot just push someone away? Then I said, no, I'm not asking you to push them away, be nasty to them, but that associate with someone, with a bad friends, someone is not good for you, but you still can be nice. You still, if you can help, you still can help that person, but not to associate with them. It's not that you have to run away and push them away, but you just don't associate with them. So this we can avoid, we avoid. And since if he were to do so, wise companions in the holy life might suspect him of evil conduct. So like just now he's like mentioned about avoid sitting on unsuitable seats, like especially for monarchs. Actually, with opposite sex, we don't sit close in a secluded area. This is more like to avoid that. Like for example, like for monks and nuns, we have our precept, we have our rules, So sometimes, of course, we very difficult, and sometimes, like for example, like we have traders, they come, and that's why we only business, so we have to be careful. So if just a few words they ask, oh, what do you want to do? So and then I try to keep it short, but not into a conversation. So if you know that you're going to be long, you're going to talk to the traders long, so you have to find a chaperone. But sometimes you get caught, you stand there, they come and say. Sometimes so funny, one of our traders, when one of the nuns said, hey, sorry, I can't talk to you now, I get the shot. I'm not a bad guy, I'm a good guy. You think I am, I'm not trying to take advantage of you, but sometimes we are very skillfully, we try to. So that's why I told the nuns, I said, you try to keep it short. Like they ask you something, you quickly, but not to start a conversation to talk too long, Just yeah, hello, and then, and then if you need to talk to him, then you ask him to wait for a little while. You get the chaperone. So this is how we have to avoid. We try to avoid. For example, unless sometimes we don't know. For example, I get caught so many times, when I was in the office, and the traders come and knock on my office door, and what can I do? I stand there. So normally I go out, I just stand at the door there and talk to him. So usually I keep it very fast and short and not try to not to start the conversation. So this is how we avoid. We know that certain situation going to lead us to troubles, problem, then we avoid. We don't go into that, you know. So taints to be abandoned by removing. Okay. So what taints because should be abandoned by removing? Here a bhikkhu reflecting wisely does not tolerate an unreasoned a reason thoughts of sensual desire. He abandons move it, he annihilates it. He does not tolerate an unreasoned thoughts of ill will. This is how when the lust arises, then we reflecting on renunciation, you know, and thinking of giving, you know, right? Then because this is counteract of greed. When desires, you know, this arises, then if we are not careful, then the way to remove it is to replace it. To replace that, then thinking of renunciation. And if the ill will arises, then we replace with loving kindness. So replace the kind thoughts. If you have ill will, you know, so replace the thinking. So replace the unwholesome thinkings with wholesome thinking. So he does not tolerate. He does not listen evil, unwholesome state. So he abandoned them away with them. There are no taints, vexation of fever in one. These are called taints that should be abandoned by some thoughts. So we don't follow the unwholesome thoughts, but we replace the unwholesome thoughts with wholesome thoughts. Taints to be abandoned by developing. So that's why qualities. So when we develop these qualities, then we do abandon these taints to be abandoned by developing. Here a bhikkhu reflecting wisely develops a mindfulness. That is the 7 factors of enlightenment. That is the mindfulness enlightenment factors. This is supported by seclusion, dispassion, and cessation, and ripples in relinquishment. He develops investigation of states, enlightenment factor, the energy enlightenment factor, the rapture enlightenment factor, the tranquility enlightenment factor, the concentration, the stillness enlightenment factor, the equanimity enlightenment factor, which is supported by seclusion, dispassion, and cessation, and ripens in relinquishment. So, what taints, vexation, and fever might arise in one who does not develop these enlightenment factors, or fever in one who then should be abandoned by developing. That's why in this whole path of the practice, actually we are not only restraining, like for example we keeping the 5 precepts. So we not only restraining ourselves, but we consciously establish like kindness and compassion. Like it itself is an expression of kindness and compassion, because we practice renunciation. But when we keep the precept, also we practice non-harming, non-violent, and this is how we develop that. At the same time, we deliberately develop thoughts of we bring in a thoughts of loving kindness. We practice generosity. We've been been of service, and this is how we develop this quality. Like other qualities like gratitude, all this contentment, all this, because this is all the spiritual qualities to support the practice. So, and when this grow, is naturally our defilements will be weaker, isn't it? When we grow, so it's just like the defilements, like those bad seed. That's the seed that we starve it, but we keep nurture and watering and grow all the, we plant in nice seed, we grow the wholesome seed, the plant, good plant, we let it grow. So we develop that. So while we develop that, and then there is a way to abandon that these defilements. So this is the last part. So we come to conclusion. Bhikkhus. When a bhikkhu, the taints that should be abandoned by seeing have been abandoned by seeing. When the things that should be abandoned by restraining have been abandoned by restraining. When the things that should be abandoned by using have been abandoned by using. When the things that should be abandoned by endurance have been abandoned by endurance. When the things that should be abandoned by avoiding have been abandoned by avoiding. When the things that should be abandoned by removing have been abandoned by removing. When the things that should be abandoned by developing have been abandoned by developing, then he is called a bhikkhu who's restrained with restraint of all things. He has severed craving, flung off fetters, and with the complete penetration of conceit, he has made an end of suffering. So that is what the Blessed One said. The bhikkhus will satisfy and delight in the Blessed One's world. So these are the outflow in these three asavas. So this is three asava is a cause of keeping us in the samsara, and this is underlying tendency that as a cause. So the three unwholesome, I just repeat again, the three unwholesome roots, that is the effect. We give rise to that. So that is the greed, hatred, and delusion is not the source, is not the cause, that the roots that keep us in the cycle of existence. But because of we, like the Buddha said, we attend this unwisely, then we give rise to that. That is a cause, like anger, ill will, that are not, great hatred and delusion is not the root, is not the cause, the source of keeping us in the samsara. But of course, because of that, give rise to unwholesome action, unwholesome deeds. But because if we are not skillful and we reinforce that, and then we become unskillful, give rise to this unwholesome action. So this unwholesome action actually indeed it reinforce our underlying tendency, and it's getting stronger and stronger. Because when we react unskillfully, we do unskillful action, or whatever behavior that is unskillful, and we feeding it, we reinforce that underlying tendency. So this is today's Sutta class. Any more questions or comments? Okay, the first question they say, this person from Penang. I find it hard to restrain my speech because I find it difficult to be mindful all of the time. This leads to many regrets. What suggestion do you have to solve this problem? It's just like sometimes we cannot bite back our tongues, isn't it? So that's why this is one of the way that we have to practice, like each time we, like the Buddha's mention is in one of the Rahula, is the teaching to Rahula, that he said, before you speak, you have to train yourself, stop before you speak. This is very important, and you have to slow down. You have to train yourself. Of course, this will not happen overnight, because sometimes old habit die hard, isn't it? But it's possible. It's not that it's possible. We are trainable. So there's one of the way is to try to slow down our reaction and try to stop before we speak. It's just one of the teaching that the Buddhas that give to Rahula, his son. He said, you reflect, before you speak. But sometimes, each time after that, even after our action, also we reflect. So make sure that next time we don't do it, So that's why you have to train the mind. Each time you speak, you just pause. Don't immediately react and immediately, says anything. Make it a habit. So you have to train yourself. Questions from Ken from Vancouver, Canada. Is the sutta's topic in the Agamas? Have you read it? Is it similar? This is because I saw one of the in a Chinese, because because it's in Chinese. Because the Chinese, I think if you know Chinese, when they said when they said about the taints, that low that is flow out. That's why that is the translation, because they have the translation there. So, but I didn't really read it because I saw that these words in Chinese. So that's why I know. But I didn't really read the whole suttas, these agamas in Chinese. I didn't. But I flipped through. I saw the words there. So actually, in that translation, they said it's like leak. Low is leak. So that is like flowing out. And because of also we meditate, we know how's the mind. Our minds always go out, isn't it? So that's why it's more like I feel to me, like I prefer to use like flowing out, going out, because the flowing out, that's why we it's really draining, isn't it? If our mind, if someone is restless, your mind always go out. You feel really tired, very stressful. So when we are still, we are bright, we are energetic. So that's why that is the mind keep going out. We like to go out. That's why very difficult to be still, because of the sense of self, the ego, that we always want to control. The mind always want to go out. So that's why the only thing that to let that go. You just need more training, developing our this path, So any more questions or comments? Shiwan? No? No more? Okay. So no questions or comments? Okay. So we Arahant. Arahant Sama Sambuddho Bhagava Buddhang Bhagavantam Abhivadami Swagato Bhagavata Dhammo Dhammang Namasami Supatipanno Bhagavato Sāvaka Sangho Sanghang Namami